Hey, I'm Sara Gonzales. Welcome to the news and why it matters. Glenn, what was the top story for you?
I think the World Wrestling event that happened in the Oval Office today between Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Donald Trump, it was just strangely delightful to watch.
Okay, Stu.
The climate is changing. We're all going to die from it, and you should know that you should not fall for certain myths about the climate.
Okay.
All right. Can't wait. Andrew, Mr. Andrew Heaton.
Defense spending. We can talk about that.
All right. Can't wait to get into all of that. First, want to thank our sponsor, Riduzone. So Riduzone has changed my life because I don't have to have these awful cravings all day and actually give in to them. I'm not saying that there's anyone at the table who may or may not do that. I'm just saying it's nice to eat healthy.
Not happening with me.
I don't know what you're talking
I'm
about.
eating healthy.
Okay.
I had my salad in a glass this morning. I was proud of it.
That's true. That's a good step.
Only eat elk. That is the only thing. It's lean. It's American.
Yeah, but what about the other nutrition you get from food?
Only elk. You think you look like that by eating other things other than
you
elk?
can look like me if you eat elk. It's all of the nutrition you need from elk.
I mean, look at him, too. He kind of looks like an elk, doesn't he? Imagine him with big horns.
Yeah.
Wow, mind blown. In all seriousness, though, so Riduzone takes the good molecule in olive oil, puts it into a capsule, and it boosts your metabolism, and it helps you feel full longer. Again, I used to weigh a lot more than I weigh now, and so I know how it is to lose weight and then still struggle with your metabolism. I use it every day. It helps me. It can help you. Go to Riduzone.com. Get 30% off of a 3-month supply by using promo code THEBLAZE. That's $1.39 a day. You can invest that in your health. It's RIDUZONE.com. Promo code THEBLAZE. All right, the World Wrestling, yes.
Oh, the brawl was great. I don't know how to feel about this exactly. First, entertainment. It's great entertainment. I like to watch the fact that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer can't even look at Donald Trump. They can't even look at him, okay? Chuck Schumer is just like, his skin is crawling, all right? But they're talking about the border wall, and I just want you to see, this is a quick highlight.
I think we can agree on is we shouldn't shut down the government over a dispute. And you want to shut it down. You keep talking about it.
The last time, Chuck, you shut it down.
No.
And then you opened
20
it up very
times.
quickly. And
20 times.
I don't want to do what you did.
20 times
Chuck,
you have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my wool. None of us have said it.
You want to know something?
You've said
it.
it.
Okay, you want to put that on my...
You said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And I am proud, and I'll tell you what, I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work. I will take the mantle of shutting down. And I'm going to shut it down for border
But we
security.
believe you.
I love that.
Smug look on Chuck Schumer's face.
Oh, I know. He's like,
I think they're just trying. I think him and Pelosi agreed. Like, okay, if you think you're going to take a swing at the president, just lock eyes with me. Well, no one wants to go to jail right now.
Yeah, because that's all they're doing. And then they're looking at the press like, look at me. And Donald Trump, I love the fact that he's like, hey, put it on me. I'll shut the government down. Fine, I'll shut it down. That's the kind of things that half the country loves. That's also half the country hates, but half the country loves that, especially saying it right to Nancy Pelosi, because Nancy was like, you know, hey, we came here, we were going to have a private conversation, and he's like, why? It's transparency. And so it's refreshing to see somebody just say, yeah, okay. Oops, I just farted. I mean, that's the way Trump is. It's just like, I'm just being me. Yep, I'll shut it down. And I think people appreciate that. To see these little weasels in the front go back and forth was really interesting. Now, same thing, Trump weaseling going, oh, we've got a tremendous amount of the wall already built. No, you don't. No, you don't. Stop it. So they were both weaseling. Now, I urge you, it's like 24 minutes. I urge you I watched only 15 minutes of it, And I'm going to go home tonight and I'm going to watch it because it's just tremendous. But there is something that as I was watching it, it came to mind. Something that Roger Ailes told me when I was at Fox. He said, do you think Al Sharpton and I don't get along, don't know what we're doing? Because this was a lesson to me. He wanted to teach me what my problem was. And my problem was that I just wouldn't play the game. That's a quote. You just won't play the game. And I said, well, because I'm not playing a game. I believe in this stuff. Yeah. Look, do you think Al Sharpton and I really have a problem with each other? And I'm thinking, well, he was just out boycotting Don Imus a few months ago. I would think so. And he said, look, when he needed to boycott Imus, he'd call me up. He'd say, look, Roger, I got to go boycott. I got to do this thing. So we're going to be marching. It'll be about 3 days. And I'll say, okay, fine. He takes a pound of my flesh. Later, I have to take a pound of his flesh, and I call him up and say, hey, look, Al, I got to do this thing, blah, blah, blah. And, quote, then we just both go out to have dinner. Huh. And I sat there and I thought, I'm really in the wrong place because that's the problem. So I'm watching this, and who's winning here? Who's winning?
Oh, they're both winning, right?
Yes, they're both winning. They're both winning. Nothing's going to get solved. They're both winning.
For their own
Trump
side.
is winning for his side. Yeah. They're winning for their side. And the coffers are going to be full because they're standing against the monster, whichever one wants to call the other a monster. This is political theater at its best. I hope that Donald Trump is sincere about it, but why didn't we hear this kind of talk in the last 2 years about the wall?
Yeah. Jim Inhofe and Dianne Feinstein are pretty good friends. And if you're not familiar, Jim Inhofe's a very conservative Republican senator from Oklahoma, Dianne Feinstein, very liberal senator from California. And on the one hand, I like that they are. I like that behind the scenes that they get along and have dinner. I think that's good. But you do see this, like when he was running for re-election a couple of years ago, he was actively inviting Dianne Feinstein to come campaign for his opponent, knowing that the second she crossed the threshold of Oklahoma, that the donations would skyrocket for him. Yeah. So it was in addition to being a friendship, it was a beneficial political arrangement that they had. The one I watch this and I'm always divided when I see this stuff because there's a part of me that loves gridlock because I want the Republicans and Democrats to be at loggerheads. I just want them to fight so that I can go mow my lawn and not deal with them. But the thing that bothers me about it is that there's a lot of data that says basically when the government quits working, that people basically that's when they start to flirt with authoritarianism. They go, that's not working. We should have, what we need is a strong guy to come in and tell these guys what to do. And that's what worries me, is that when we get into these gridlock situations, we're going to start having that impulse of we just need a big man to come in and
well, that's why Trump is.
Yeah, that's what Trump was seen as.
Yeah, that's what Trump was. I mean, that was his appeal. I'm going to slap these guys down. And if the big man can't slap them down and starts playing ball, then you have to get a bigger man to slap them down.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch this. I think this is a good innovation, generally speaking, in the government. This is like the third or fourth time we've seen things like this where they'll bring a bunch of cameras in and everyone's kind of talking stuff out. And so they haven't all turned nasty like this. Some of them have been very polite, but there's actually been debate and there's some real conversation that happens. You actually get a little bit of a window into how they're negotiating. I do think Schumer and Pelosi, you could tell there, are very much playing to the cameras and trying to hold that line, which I think helps them. Trump certainly is doing the same thing, but the advantage Trump has there is he'll just say it. He's not calculating enough to go through these moments, and he'll just kind of blurt out whatever he's got there. He's happy to make the point that he's, I'll shut it down if I have to shut it down. I think that's generally speaking, a positive. I like seeing them talk about this because in some ways, it gets them at least on record saying something. Yeah. And when they get kind of heated, they are a little bit more willing to kind of throw their actual positions out there. But they've come a long way. I mean, remember, these are people who used to exchange donations. They were close friends. I mean, this is not a... And the theater is there.
Yeah. Or at least those two hate Donald Trump. I don't know if he hates them, but those two hate him. Let me ask you this. Nancy Pelosi said, why don't you just pass it right now? Because you're not going to pass it with us. So why don't you just pass it right now? And Trump says we haven't passed it because we need 10 votes in the Senate, and we're not going to get, 8 or 10 Democrats to do it. So why waste that time? Well, because you don't have the votes. I could get the votes if I had the votes. Do you believe that? No, he means in the House. Do you believe that the House has enough Republicans that will pass this bill to get the wall built? Or is Nancy Pelosi right that the Republicans just wouldn't pass it anyway?
I think they would pass it. I do. I mean, they've passed various forms of it before.
Then truly, why not? Why not?
I mean, I think they have no chance of getting 60 votes in the Senate. So
right. Well, that's his, but at least it would send a signal to the American people that they did it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a CYA for the House, just to say, like, we did it. If you want to be mad at someone, you can be mad at the Senate.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, they have passed similar bills to fund border walls going back long before Donald Trump was even a candidate.
No, you remember when we were at CNN and I talked to, who was it? Duncan Hunter. And he tried to convince us that, no, this language says shall,
right,
not will. It says shall.
That was the one. That one actually passed all the way through, and then they rewrote it.
Would that have been one of the bills that then Senator Clinton voted to extend the wall on?
Yes.
Because people forget about that. Yeah. She didn't want a full wall, but she wanted to extend the wall.
Clinton.
Yeah,
Senator Clinton.
Yes. And Kay Bailey Hutchinson sort of rewrote that from shall. So it went the other way. And, they're never binding, and that's always been the issue. I think the House would pass a border security bill. I would be surprised. They haven't had trouble in the past doing that. And honestly, it's a lot easier to pass right now because even if they don't really want it, they can look tough on the border and know it's not going to go through the Senate.
The best position to be in as a congressman is to be the righteous person who's fighting against the mob that is going to, your vote won't do anything.
If I were Donald Trump, I would take that talking point off the table. She said, why don't you do it? Then why don't you do it? Do it right now. You don't have the votes. Yes, I do. It won't pass in the Senate. Why don't you do it? Just show us. You don't have the votes. Now, I hate to play into Nancy Pelosi's hands, but if you have the votes, pass the damn thing. Take that talking point off the table.
Yeah. I also would just like to point out really quickly, the previous president, Obama, we were supposed to believe that he was the most transparent president ever. He had the most transparency ever. And now Trump is like, no, let's have this conversation in front of the cameras. And Pelosi's just consistently like, why do we have to have this conversation here? Can't we have this conversation somewhere else? Yeah. Very interesting how quickly that changes.
I think Trump honestly is quite transparent as a president.
Yeah, we've got a direct pipeline to his thoughts on
he tweets literally everything he thinks.
Yeah. Too much. I'm afraid we're going to see him actually crapping on the John tweeting someday. He'll accidentally be tweeting and take a picture of him, and you'll be like, oh, crap, did I just send that out to the world?
No more than an 80% chance.
Wow, that would. That okay? Yeah.
All right. Let's get into climate change and how we're all going to die when we come back.
Well, then I'm not going to stick around for the show. I want to go be with my wife and family.
Hey, and I'm going to get. Bottles.
Before we get into climate change, I want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. Glenn, I know that you were in terrible pain for many, many years.
Yeah, I still have it. I want to make clear, Relief Factor, has not taken it all away. It's made my life bearable. A year ago this month, I said to my wife, I can't go another year. Can't go another year like this. I can't do it. And she said, just try the Relief Factor thing. And because I believe in Dow Chemical and drugs. I said, it's not going to work. It's 100% natural. Nature.
I hate nature.
I hate nature. So she said, try it. And I did. I took it for 3 weeks. 70% of the people do like I do, try it for 3 weeks, and they go on to order it month after month. I've been taking it now for a full year. I take it 3 times a day, and it has lessened my pain. A great deal.
Yeah,
a great deal.
Mine as well, but except the 100% natural was actually the selling point for me.
Yeah, I know.
I was excited that it was 100% natural, but I have protruding
You youngsters and this natural thing.
I just like taking pills, so would I enjoy this?
You would. Yeah, they're plentiful.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you can go to relieffactor.com or call the number on the bottom of your screen. Get that 3-week quick start pack. It's $20. And like Glenn said, the odds are in your favor that it's going to work for you.
Don't say it like that. May the odds always forever be in your favor.
I mean, I didn't quote it.
Yeah,
I just said something similar.
It works, and you'll get your life back. Just try it. relieffactor.com.
All right. How long do we have, Stu? Do you know?
7 minutes. Oh, but that was 12 minutes ago, so we're dead. So now that we're in heaven doing this program, I would like to bring up some of the climate change myths. There was a new piece from CNN where they decided to debunk some of the very highly talked about climate change myths. And, they were basically myths. I mean, they weren't, it was stuff like, well,
it's cold out, so
right,
it can't be happening.
This is the one, yeah, I'm glad you brought that one up. This is myth number 2. Now, look, anyone with even the most basic understanding of this debate is not actually believing this. But of course, to try to make everyone who has any skepticism about global warming or how it should be handled, they have to make this out to be like the point that every single person brings up. Here's myth number 2 from CNN.
Myth number 2. It's bitterly cold outside, so global warming isn't real. It's something we hear every winter when there is an extreme cold snap. There are record-breaking cold temperatures. Where's global warming? The president even tweeted the myth during a cold snap around Thanksgiving. The truth is that weather and climate are 2 different things.
I bet you didn't know that. Wait, it's winter, so therefore there's no global warming.
So, Stu, help me out, because I don't they're using these words, but I do not think it means what they think it means. Because I think I remember hearing them say this all the time.
Well, this is the issue that I want to bring up, is that, of course, a snowstorm does not prove that global warming isn't real. Of course it doesn't prove that. No one seriously says it. I think Trump is trolling probably there. And people do like to point out when Al Gore goes out for a climate, march and they're all in a blizzard and they have to wear a parka. It's kind of funny. It's funny imagery. But again, no one in the world believes that a snowstorm cancels global warming. The point, though, is that the end of that is what they always will bring up when you say that, which is weather and climate are 2 different things. They are. Weather is, when you have day to day. Climate is essentially the weather averaged over a long period of time, right? The issue, however, is every single time an event comes up that supports global warming, it is tied to global warming directly. We have one little example here. This one is from the same network that was just telling you about that particular myth. Watch.
A lot of both first responders and scientists are connecting the dots between what had happened here and the National Climate Assessment that says in the future we must brace for more of this, hotter, more intense fires, a more flammable world. Over 300 scientists from NASA, NOAA, the Pentagon, Smithsonian, all agreeing that unless things change, this is just the beginning. But when asked about the report,
It's fine.
and its prediction of economic devastation,
Yeah, I don't believe it. No, I don't believe it.
Climate change doesn't really care if you believe in it or not, right? It's reality. We have gravity, we have climate
Right. So again, this is fire. Fires are caused by global warming.
Hurricanes.
They're
doing every time.
single one. I mean, and that's what's so frustrating. Every time it's too hot, every time there's a hot spell, they do it every single time. They tie it to global warming when it benefits them, and when it doesn't, they say the opposite. So weather and climate are 2 different things, and it's quite frustrating if you want to actually take it seriously. I would love to get into hours about that devastating assessment about the economy, which is so nonsensical. I can't even do it justice on the entire show by myself. It's that ridiculous. But I think it's important to know that a lot of this is theater, right? Global warming may or may not be as bad as they say. We don't know yet. There's a lot of, there are differing arguments on how to deal with it. I mean, there really is. And there's a pretty, I think, natural argument to say that predicting 100 years out in the future, what is going to be the main environmental issue of that day, and trying to solve it today is a fool's errand. It's not going to work, and it never has worked before. But to try to take this stuff seriously, I mean, this goes back to when one of the first global warming conferences or sessions they had, in which they actually legitimately turned the air conditioning off so that people would be sweating for the theater of the actual interrogations in front of Congress. They turned the air conditioning off because they wanted the people there to be sweating to show the people that global warming was serious. This sort of nonsense is why it's hard.
Did that?
This goes back to, it's the late 80s, I think. It could have been early 90s. But they actually did that in Congress, made sure that they had it at the hottest day of the year with no air conditioning on. Because again,
it's in violation of the Geneva Convention.
Yes, I think so too.
I would never. If you've been to D.C., it's just it is literally a swamp. It's a terrible thing to do.
It's not fun. So I mean, I think like if there's this constant berating of anyone who's conservative or libertarian or anyone who's even mildly skeptical about the solutions when it comes to global warming, to just berate them and call, stuff like that. Oh, did you know if it's cold, it doesn't count? If you want to be taken seriously with this stuff, you have to actually play by your own rules. I want to see that myth being busted next time a leftist says, oh, well, it's hot outside, so therefore global warming is real. Hey, there's fires, so therefore. Why didn't they run that segment directly after the one about the fires, where they blamed that on global warming? If they would have some credibility if they did those things. They never even attempt them, and that's why it's hard to take them seriously. How can you separate how can the average American go through and separate fear-mongering from reality when they do this sort of thing all the time?
And it hurts the cause. It really hurts the cause, because I just had this conversation with my daughter 2 nights ago.
Uh-oh.
And no, it was good. She believes that man can affect the environment, but she does not believe that that means we should collectively go to the government and have the government spend trillions of dollars through taxes and everything else.
Well, her father's Glenn Beck, so I would hope she wouldn't think that.
She believes that you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do. Well, what is it that we're supposed to do? Because you have nobody has any credibility on it. No credibility. And everybody is so polarized, calling you a climate denier or anything else, you're not even listening anymore.
I think you can also, one of the things that happens in the mediascape, which I don't think is helpful in any position, is it's very easy to find silly arguments and then blast them apart, which is what that second myth was that we just played. Like I was watching that and I was like, I'm not talking to my cousins and my uncles about climate change. I don't know their perspective on it, but they are farmers. So my guess is explaining weather and climate to them would be kind of a
talking down to them,
kind of a condescending thing to do.
Yeah, but again, it's New York. Here's a reporter in New York. They're not talking to the farmers.
Yeah. But I'm on the. I do think climate change is happening. I would get government involved in some capacity, but one of the things this doesn't, I think, particularly help a whole lot because you're preaching to the choir on it. To your point about the government coming in and doing it, something that I was alarmed by the other day, as someone that thinks global warming is happening and we should do something, I was reading a piece by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and it said it said we can we're going to use this to create a new green agenda, and we're going to revitalize the economy and redistribute resources and everything. And I was like, I just like that day I was just like, guys, this isn't a hoax. We're not trying to steal the economy. We're just trying. And I was like, God, you're not helping me when I'm talking to my.
You listen to Van Jones in the days under Barack Obama. Green is the new red.
It's true, and I mean, I think because if it's a big problem, and there can be some government things that they can do, but really, what's the solution?
We're some pruning. I mean, like this is one of the things that I've mentioned a couple times. I really do want. I would like to get people that are intelligent, and I know you kind of focus on climate change. I would love to see you guys interact with these other high-level thinkers and go, look, you need to help us make nuclear power more achievable because that's a clean way for us to get it in, and all the regulations. So like. This is something where conservatives can sit down and go, we've got solutions, but you've already blasted these out, and so we're not able to interact.
Yeah.
All right, back in a minute.
There's a really good documentary on that from left-leaning climate people who were like, hey, guys, nuclear.
They've all come.
briefing.
Really quickly, Time has announced their People of the Year, the Guardians of Truth.
Oh, the Guardians and the War of Truth. Wow, these guys are too, aren't they? I mean, I think Khashoggi was a guardian of the truth, at least the truth, of the Muslim Brotherhood, which I think was great. Some of these people, I don't know. Some of these people are, guardians of the truth, I suppose.
Jailed Burmese journalists.
Yeah, I mean, that's something. But first of all, it's not a person. I hate this when it's like, you, the computer.
I put that on my resume. Sometimes I'll mention my guests, this is 2008 Time Person of the Year. Yeah.
When they came out with their list of finalists, and one of them was separated families, and I was just get out of here with that. Separated families.
It's like they really just
cheating.
have to try really hard to suck that much, and they do it every year. Every year, it's just. That's just a dull, awful pick. They're essentially naming. They're like, oh, who's a hero? We're heroes. Us at Time. That's who the heroes are.
The year I was on cover of Time magazine, I know somebody who was on that committee that year, and somebody brought my name up and said, "What about Glenn Beck?" And he said the room went deathly silent, and then they all turned on him.
Yeah.
All right, we will see you guys in overtime. We have more to come. Stay tuned.